What is it? There's a lot of athletes I know, a lot of ball players who, when they do retire from certain eras, they go fishing. And of course, there's great stories about Ted Williams, who, fishing to him was a religion in so many ways. But what is it about fishing and hunting that just attracts a lot of ball players of a certain era? It just seems to be so cathartic.
I think a lot of it is being by yourself and being out away from the crowds after you have lived in a stadium with 40, 50,000 people yelling for your neck, and being able to shut them down and do the job that being able to go hunting and fishing when you're by yourself pretty much, and doing what you want to do and living as an introvert instead of an extrovert. It's kind of a way to slow down and unwind.
So before we get to baseball stories, there's nothing like a good fishing story, good fish tale. So reach back into the Jim Kern book of fishing now for a moment and just give me the best
Well, it's
fishing tale.
one of my best friends from baseball years is Ferguson Jenkins. And Fergie and I did a whole lot of hunting and fishing together. Matter of fact, we were out in West Texas yesterday scaring hogs. And I remember the first time I came into Pompano Beach, when you get traded from one team to the other team, the first time, it's like walking into the enemy's impoundment. And, hey, I'm on your side now. And as I pulled into the parking lot in Pompano Beach in spring training, here's this 16-foot bass boat trailered behind I think it was a Blazer with Canadian license plates. And as soon as I walked in the clubhouse, I walked over to Fergie, never having met him other than on the field, and sat down beside him and said, "When are we going fishing?" And he looked at me, he says, "Well, this afternoon after practice." So after practice, we get in the boat and we're going down the road, and he tells me we're going to go to a phosphate pit that has bass stocked in it. And I tell him that that's great because I'm not really big on gators and snakes, as I'm from Michigan and originally. And Fergie immediately pulls off the road, turns around, and heads 180 degrees in the other direction. And I'm thinking, okay, now what the hell's going on? So we drive about 30, 40 minutes and take a right into a boat landing. And I look at the sign and it says Alligator Alley. And I figured, all right, here's
Welcome to Florida, baby.
Fucking with me. Right off the top. I should have kept my mouth shut. And so we pull into Alligator Alley, put the boat in, and we start going back through the sawgrass. And I don't know if you've ever been in the Everglades.
Oh, yeah.
A landmark is a piece of grass that's 6 inches taller than the other 10 million acres of grass. And he weaves back and forth through these canals for about 20 minutes and pulls into this lagoon, and I'm totally lost. I got no idea. And so I bait my hook and cast it out, and I wash my hands in the water, and Fergie looks around and says, "I wouldn't do that, Emu." He says, "There's some big gators in here." And I'm laughing, knowing he's screwing around with me. So I wash my hands and continue to do it and come back up and cast again. And about the time I cast, this log surfaces. And Fergie's in a 16-foot boat, and this log is longer than the damn boat. And suddenly it develops a tail and some legs and a mouthful of teeth. And I'm moving back trying to find the exact center of the boat. And Fergie looks at me and he says, "Don't worry about that little guy. The big ones are over here on this side." This is my good buddy taking me fishing.
You learned your lesson pretty quick. And if people don't realize what you're talking about is the soul. It used to be a 2-lane highway that went from the East Coast to the West Coast of Florida, going right through everything that is all Everglades. And they have stops along the way where people can rest. And there was nothing there at the time. There's still not, well, there's a Native American casino there now. There's a truck stop there along the way. But back then there was nothing except just rest stops. I'll grab you a quick one on this. First time my grandmother came down here, and this goes back again a million years. We took her from Fort Lauderdale over to Fort Myers over to the West Coast. We stopped. We got a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken along the way, and we stopped at the rest stop there, and we're having the chicken. And my grandmother, not knowing anything, she takes and has a chicken, and she tosses it in the water. And I swear, just 30 seconds later, you heard it. There were the gators. That's how close they were to the time. And if you put your hands in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I figured he was screwing with me, which he probably was. But I mean, he's done that to me more than once. He asked me to go fishing one time here in Texas, and we show up in the morning and get out to the stock tank that may be 2 acres. And he opens the back of the truck, and here are these tubes. I don't know if you've ever fished out of these inner tubes with a seat in them. And I'm laughing like hell because I'm 6'5", Fergie's 6'4" and some change. And trying to stay upright in these tubes, let alone cast and fish, is a game in itself. So we get in these tubes and get out into the middle of this little stock tank, and I'm doing pretty good. I haven't fallen over and drowned yet. I'm feeling pretty confident, and I cast a couple times. Things are working well. And then suddenly I cast too far and hit this tree. And about that time, a water moccasin drops off the tree into the water and heads right for me. And I yelled at Fergie, "What the hell am I supposed to do now?" He says, "Don't worry, they can't bite underwater." Yeah, right. So this snake comes toward me, gets about 10 feet from me, and plop, goes under the water. I did my best imitation of Jesus walking across the top of the water to get to the bank you've ever seen. And Fergie's laughing like hell, of course. I spent the rest of the day fishing off the edge of the bank, and he's out in the middle catching the fish. I really didn't give a shit at that point.
And this is your friend.
This is my friend. Well, as you can see from the cover of the book, I asked Gaylord, Fergie, and Sparky to take a picture with me. They took one picture of me standing up straight, and then, as you can see, they started beating the hell out of me.